The most surprising team to start off the season has to be the Clippers. Like before the season started, in my mind, there was a world where the Warriors were good or the Rockets were good or the Lakers were good, but you could not have convinced me that the Clippers were going to be 11-7 through the first 18 games, especially if Kawhi Leonard was not going to play a single second. Like before the season started, in my mind, one of the reasons why I was so out on the Clippers is because the talent level had dropped so dramatically. For better or for worse, Paul George was leaving to go to the opposite side of the country. Kawhi Leonard, we found out that he wasn't going to be ready to start the season, and that was enough for me to say I'm out. It's going to be James Harden and a bunch of role players in the Western Conference. That just won't be good enough. And here they are again through 18 games. It's been perfect. Little did I recognize James Harden and a bunch of role players is the recipe. He is the system, I guess. And I mean, that's always been his case, but I was thinking 35-year-old James can't get this team going like that. But he has been one of the greatest floor raisers in the history of basketball. And I guess I kind of forgot about that. And I'm only speaking about my own personal viewing experience. This version of 2024-2025 Clippers team has been pretty much as enjoyable to watch as any Kawhi, Paul George. Hell, I would argue they are even more enjoyable to watch than the Kawhi, Paul George era. And I think that's for a couple different reasons. The first one is there's really no question marks about what you're supposed to do on this team as a role player, as somebody there. Like everybody knows exactly what their job is to do and they get it done. And the second one is, I mean, there's no overarching question. Like, of course, yeah, Kawhi Leonard has not played a single second. When is he going to come back? Yada, yada, yada. But I just felt like through the entirety of the Kawhi Paul George era, that was such a cloud, such a big thing over the organization. And that was all people could talk about when they brought up the Clippers. Will they be healthy? Can they be healthy? And yada, yada, yada. Now, again, Kawhi hasn't played, so there's still a little bit of a question mark. But it's kind of on the side. Things are going so well right now that when Kawhi Leonard get healthy, they'll welcome it, of course, but they're not really rushing Kawhi to come back. And I just found out that Kristaps Porzingis is playing against them tonight. So a healthy Boston Celtics team, okay, see what that looks like. But they have been just overwhelmingly great, right? Where before the season started, Terrence Mann was like, "This is the best defensive team I've ever been a part of," and I was looking at him like, "Come on, bro, you just talking," and it's been objectively true. This version of the Clippers is better than every defensive version of the Clippers as Terrence Mann's been on the roster. So I'm going to give a huge shout out to KD, Chris Dunn. I'm going to give a huge shout out to Derrick Jones Jr. I'm going to give a huge shout out to Zubac, who's one of the best rim protectors of basketball. I mean, everybody's doing their part, but in my mind, those are the three dudes that's really getting after it. Yesterday, when they played against the 76ers, granted the 76ers are not a good basketball team whatsoever nowadays, they were just confusing as hell last night, where some possessions, they just come in with a straight man-to-man and they would switch everything, and some possessions, they were doing this hybrid zone, and it just felt like the 76ers had no idea what the hell to expect from possession to possession, and guys like KD and Derrick Jones Jr. hounding the younger, smaller guards. It was, if you're a Clippers fan, it was like a movie. And if you were a 76ers fan, it was also a movie, but the worst kind of movie. Before the season started, this happened. Jeff Van Gundy agrees to be Clippers lead assistant, and Jeff Van Gundy basically became the most talked about assistant coach hiring maybe in the history of the league, which is crazy. And then there was an article in The Athletic where they kind of talked about what he was going to do for the team. Where the Clippers lost Paul George and Russell Westbrook, who were mostly known as vocal leaders, and they were asked who's going to be that guy now, and they said it was going to be Jeff Van Gundy. He'll be the guy. My mic is in the way. He's going to be the guy to make sure that we set the tone, make sure we're talking defensively. And we got to be a loud talk team. We got to talk our coverages, understanding what we're doing. And Jeff Van Gundy's done a great job of setting the tone early on. And I'm just a nerd for stuff like this, where the NBA is so different than the NFL, but I'm seeing it kind of merge in a way where you're seeing, more highly touted and talked about specialists on the coaching staff. Where if you look at the Golden State Warriors, Terry Stotts is like their offensive coordinator, if you will, and then Jerry Stackhouse is like their defensive coordinator. Jeff Van Gundy for the Clippers is their defensive coordinator. And the resume speaks for itself. This is Jeff Van Gundy's defenses throughout the course of his career, where, as you're going to see, this is the defensive efficiency, they've always just been great. And this current Clippers team, as of right now, as I'm recording this video, is the 5th ranked defense in all of basketball, even without them having some of the same defensive tools as other teams that he's coached. And one of the defensive philosophies for the Clippers this season is do not allow the opposing team to get second chance opportunities. They are very first in the league in offensive rebound rate for the opposing teams. They're just not letting you get your own misses, and that is allowing them to, of course, get more possessions and stop you. Well, that's their identity. It's the defensive side of the ball. They got a bunch of people that will hound a ball handler for 94 feet and a bunch of people that get all into you because their offense has not been good. I mean, James Harden's having a career low in efficiency, but again, he's such a floor raiser that even though he's personally not having the same shooting seasons as the prime version of himself, him as the orchestrator is still enough. It's still enough. And him and Zubac still have one of the better pick and roll duos in all of basketball. Like, it's working. I got asked on Twitter yesterday after their win against the 76ers, what is the ceiling of this team if and when Kawhi Leonard comes back, if he looks remotely healthy? And I still don't know the answer to that, because even with me giving all of the flowers as I can in this video, there are some things about when I watch that I feel like might come down to earth just a little bit. Like, they give up a good amount of open three-pointers, and as of today, their opponents are shooting the lowest percentage from three, which means there's a little bit of luck in the defensive efficiency and everything, because they're giving up open threes and teams are shooting 30% there, while like league average is again 37 at this point. So like that'll probably average itself out. So them being a top 5 defense is maybe not super realistic for the full plight of the season. But Kawhi coming back objectively helps that offense that is, as of today, ranked 24th, because even one-legged Kawhi Leonard, a 1.5-legged Kawhi Leonard is still good enough to give you some possessions. And it seems like they have been struggling, if you will, to close out a lot of games. And Kawhi Leonard is still one of the best closers that we have. So I left that tweet on red. I didn't reply because I don't know. I literally don't know. Hell, I underestimated them going into the season. I don't want to underestimate them again. I'm just going to let the results be the results. So when Kawhi Leonard does come back, we'll talk about it, obviously. But I'm done projecting with the Clippers. It's wraps. I got to give, of course, all of the flowers to Norman Powell, who before the season started talked about addition by subtraction with the Paul George movement, and he's lived up to it 100%. Like, this is like ridiculous. 119 three-point attempts. He's shooting nearly 50% on them. 50% in the corners, 50% on non-corners. It's unreal. I'm still watching, waiting for the Terrence Mann offensive game to happen. Maybe it never will. I guess he didn't learn much while playing with Kawhi and Paul George all those damn years. But either way, the Clippers have been a super fun story, and I'm curious to see how much they can keep up and can they stand put until Kawhi Leonard comes back. Also, how aggressive will they be on the market? Because they do have some tradable pieces. Like we mentioned, or I haven't mentioned, but PJ Tucker is on the team, but he's not with the team. That's $11 million. Terrence Mann has been pretty bad this season. That's $11 million. So they have some potential deals that they could make. And I'm curious of how much they put their foot on the gas, because it's a Steve Ballmer team, right? That's kind of their whole MO. They're gonna pay, keep the window alive, keep it open. But I'm curious of what that $20-ish million could get you. All right, that's it. Shout out to the Clippers.